is a 2003 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 8 FQ-300, and it's ours. We've bought ourselves an Evo. Oh, fuck me, it's quick. A big part of the DriveTribe YouTube channel in 2023 was finding, fixing and tuning Martin, Richard Hammond's Subaru Impreza from the Grand Tour. One thing that we couldn't do was rescue James May's Evo VIII. So instead, we've bought one. We have deliberately bought a car that is almost identical to James May's. The main difference was he had some fancy front canards on his. We have paid quite a lot of money though, 25 grand, but there is a reason for that. What we didn't want to do was buy a super cheap car and spend the first 2 or 3 episodes rescuing rusty panels all over the car, chassis underneath, before we could do anything cool with power mods. So instead, we've paid quite a lot of money for a car that is seemingly completely solid and completely stock. There's supposedly no rust on it whatsoever, so we can crack on making power. So why haven't we just saved James's Evo? Well, I covered this when we collected the Subaru last year, and if you hadn't seen that video, definitely check it out after this. But the long and short of it is that Amazon were not willing to take on the liability of that car being back out in the world. They won't even allow parts to be stripped from it, just in case something goes wrong and it leads back to them. As far as we're concerned, that car is still in that secret Grand Tour compound and will not be leaving, not even if James wants it. But this one is living and breathing, and we have lots of cool plans for it, which I'll reveal later in the video. How do you pick out an Evo VIII from the bunch then? Well, the way I see it, all the Evos before the 8, they were much more square, and they keep that black mesh grille completely clean. With the 8, the design suddenly became more pointy, and that's why you've got the Mitsubishi badge on that yellow triangle right in the middle of the grille. Last year, you guys seemed to thoroughly enjoy the Subaru content, and it was also, personally, an adventure into the Subaru world for me, because I'd never owned one, driven one. I really didn't know anything about Subarus until we got stuck in with Martin. But it fully convinced me why Subaru WRX STIs are seen as affordable performance legends. I loved getting stuck in with that car. And with this Evo, it's going to be a very similar story with me, because I've had very little interaction with these cars in my life. For me, it's only really been Need for Speed Underground 2. If you won Race 15 in the URL, the Underground Racing League, you unlocked a Mitsubishi Evo VIII. When I first slapped eyes on this car that we'd bought, to me, all that came to mind was Riders on the Storm, the Snoop Dogg version, of course. Before we dive any deeper, for some reason, a lot of us in the UK refer to this brand of car as Mitsubishi, rather than Mitsubishi. I don't know why, it's just a thing. I will try my best to say it properly, but apologies if my Britishness gets in the way. Like a lot of our cars that are modified or we plan to modify, we go to our friends at Adrian Flux for insurance, as they'll take on board unique mods and find the best policy for you. Mr. Flux, get ready for a phone call about Evo tinkering. What's the plan with this car then? Well, if we'd had our way and we'd managed to rescue James May's car, we would have built it alongside the Subaru and had a bit of internal competition going between the two, reigniting the Impreza versus Evo battle of the early 2000s. We want to challenge the V-Limited Subaru, a car that has had things a bit too easy on this channel. Of course, it will never match the provenance and story of the actual Grand Tour car, but can we build this Evo to be an objectively better car? Can we make this Evo as good, if not better, than the Subaru? But my conclusion on that car, on the Isle of Arran, was we'd made an amazing piece of kit. Super, super capable. But I thought we'd gone slightly too far on power. Now I know that Richard wanted that title horsepower figure, and he got it, 530. I think when you take a car to that amount of power, it can quickly seem like a bit of a blunt instrument, a bit of a one-trick pony, just kind of firing out of corners. So I would like to take the learnings from the Subaru build and inject them into this car. Straight away, this Evo feels sharper than the Impreza, noticeably so. The front end is somehow even more responsive, even more darty than that WRX STI. Now that's good when you're searching for an apex and really getting stuck in, feeding the power and feeling the car underneath you. But it does mean that this Evo finds every little bump and camber in the road, so you are constantly steering to keep it in a straight line. It slightly goes against my normal vibe with cars, but I dig it. I'm really, really liking this car off the bat. There is a chance that this innate sharpness that the Evo seems to have could work against it when fighting against the Subaru to be the better road car, especially when we add power to it. Might make it all just a bit too frenetic. So, the low boost on the Subaru when you flick the switch is 440 horsepower. Now I reckon that's the perfect number for this car. From factory, Mitsubishi made an FQ-400. That was kind of the ultimate UK special edition. But the reviews back in the day say that the lesser powered cars, the likes of the FQ-360 or FQ-300, were much more sorted cars, much more drivable. The FQ-400, despite having all of that power, was a bit spiky, a bit top-endy. It was less of a complete machine. The FQ Evos are UK special editions, and there is a rumour that the FQ stands for quick. I'm not sure how much I believe that, but if you go back to the era, early 2000s, with all the max power stuff happening, you kind of wouldn't put it past the Mitsubishi UK press office or marketing department going for a name like that, and it kind of suits the car. When we bought this car, we were told it was completely stock, which should be bang on 300 horsepower. There's no way. It's so quick. It may just be the way it's putting down its power, but it feels substantially more than just 300. I would say it feels slightly quicker than Martin was just when he came back from the Grand Tour and they put that Grand Tour tune on it. Richard said that car was running about 350 when we got our hands on it. I'd say this is, let's go bum dyno. I'm gonna say 360, but I reckon if we build that engine properly with modern systems to tackle the mapping, I think we can go over and above what they went to factory, 440, 450, and that will be a really tractable, exploitable amount of power in this chassis, and potentially, I know it's punchy to say, potentially a better recipe than Martin. Something that as an engineer freaks me out a bit about these cars is the fact that it is just a 4-pot single turbo engine, especially with this car being a high revving 4-cylinder and having a load of turbocharging going on. I just feel that engine is going, oh god, yep. Oh, thank God for that, after every gear change. It just seems like you're asking a lot of that 4-pot every single time you go full throttle. When I think of 4-cylinder turbo engines, I don't think about rev counters that go round to 9,000 RPM. And again, it's amazing. I mean, that was only 7, so 2,000 RPM to go. The gearing is spot on as well. you really keep that turbo spooled up, you're absolutely flat out. What a piece of engineering. What is so special about the 4G63 engine then, that 2-litre turbo block? Well, it is a similar concoction to the other over-engineered Japanese engines from the time. A cast iron block, aluminium cylinder head, forged crankshaft and conrods. Like the RB26, it's a closed deck block for maximum strength so you can send the compression through the roof. And if you throw in some forged bits in there, these engines can comfortably see over 1,000 brake horsepower. Also, let's remember that Mitsubishi took these Lancers rallying, so it was in their interest to create an engine that could take some serious punishment with high revs and a reactive turbo. Need for Speed Underground 2 tells you that with just 430 brake horsepower, you can get an Evo VIII to 60 in just 2.45 seconds and onto a top speed of 207 miles an hour. I don't think we're going to quite achieve that with this car, but we do have some content ideas that are going to be so much fun. In 2024, the Scooby versus Evo battle will be reignited. Before we do anything though, let's get to Richard's workshop and get a tracker from I Need a Tracker fitted. These cars can be a serious target for car thieves, as well as a quick appraisal from a cog. Isaac, I think we've bought a really nice Mitsubishi Evo VIII. What do you make of it?
It looks really good. I've never done anything with Evos before. I think I'm a bit Subaru biased.
You're going straight in with the Subaru argument. So you're a Subaru man.
Yeah, I think so. But I've never, I'm interested to learn on these.
Well, this is more Need for Speed rather than Colin McRae.
Yeah, Colin McRae Rally.
But what do you think of this example?
So far, it looks really clean. I
Notice
like the colour.
Anything dodgy?
No, nothing yet. Looks, apart from the number plates a little bit, the bracket's not the best.
I don't know if the cameras will be able to pick this up. I think the bonnet might be a slightly different colour to the rest of the car.
Yeah, there's a few.
Is that just sun damage, do you reckon?
I'd imagine
is that been painted? Or?
I don't know. We had to have a look, see if there's any traces of paint anywhere.
But yes, what would you like to look at first?
Shall we look at the engine bay first?
Yes, of course. There's some nice HKS pipes in there, so the previous owners clearly looked after it, spent some money.
Like a really small battery in there. I wonder if they're meant to be that size.
The manifold is lovely, but that needs Zerco-Tech, if you ask me.
It's got a different radiator though. They've upgraded that. Some nice hoses on there as well. Is that rubbing on there?
What are you saying that?
Yeah, that's rubbing on there.
Bit of friction.
Oh, it just needs holding up. Oh, it's broken there.
Okay, need a new one of them, and that's the shopping list. That's got a bit hot.
Yeah, what's at the... There's not really anything massively hot there either.
Maybe the car's been on fire.
Yeah. Big injector wiring fire happening there.
You can't tell it's been in the UK.
Yeah, it's a bit surface scabby, but there's no holes.
Something quite weird. Yeah, there's like, is that sand? Has this car been on the beach? This been down Western Supermare?
It does look a bit sandy. I mean, some of the bushes look a bit dry. Probably do with it. The exhaust looks a bit like it's seen better days.
Well, I wonder, is that Canon a bit too far? I actually think that is slightly bigger than Martin's.
You can still put your shoe in the back, so it's within tolerance.
But yeah, this is pretty good. For a car that's been in Britain, I think we should definitely take this.
Not at all, is it really?
Yeah.
It's been undersealed.
You're trying to crunch things off the car.
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's not happening.
It's easier on your Rover.
So there's, thank you. It's interesting, this side, because there's been oil leaks, is quite nicely protected. When you come over here, you compare it to that leg there, it's a bit more crusty.
Yeah, but at least the subframe's still intact.
So if we just loosen up a couple of bolts this side and get a gasket weeping on this side, it'll beautifully protect that.
Maybe sump gasket's ideal for that. Or the oil filter, just leave that loose.
Yeah.
And it'll just weep out.
Not even quite hand tight, just like a couple of threads.
Yeah, so tight.
Brush onto there.
Yeah, tight, and then 2 turns, and it'll be fine.
Nice. But yeah, what are you giving this car? Out of 10, underneath? If you were cog scoring it.
I'd say a 6.
Ooh. Bloody hell.
It's solid, but it's not nice. Okay. But like, what's 10? Is 10 concourse?
10 is the best car you've ever seen underneath.
Yeah, okay, probably a 4.
Oh my God.
Only because it's scabby.
Our journey with this car begins. We've bought ourselves an Evo. I would like to know 2 things from you guys though. First of all, Are you Subaru or Evo? And also, what power figure should we go for to make it as good, if not better, than Martin? 350, 400? Tell us in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DriveTribe.